I've been expecting you. This land of yours has been fought for thousands of years, and to be governed, you have to know how everything led to this very important point in history. In my early years of trading, I've been as far east as Tibetum and as far south as the Christian kingdom of Axum. And I have seen how our world has changed in the past century, so please, sit down. We have much to discuss. Britannia has seen dark and turbulent times since Marcus the Usurper, shortly after Constantine III of his name became emperor alongside Honorius. The province of Britannia was abandoned by the empire. It was left to be fought over by the numerous Celtic tribes, the remaining Romans and Germanic peoples seizing the opportunity to migrate to fertile and lush lands. Just south of Britannia was the former province of Gallia, much of which is still held by one of the few remaining scions of the Western Roman Empire. Although Sergagarius is still holding what his father bequeathed to him, the Franks look to his so-called domain of Novidonum and his land for conquest and settlement. Located south of Novidonum is the kingdom of the Visigoths, having migrated from Thrace to Illyricum and later on through the 7 provinces and into the former province of Hispania. The Goths have changed since the reign of Alaric. When Uruk seated on a throne in Tolosa, his people must now work to secure their power and influence, lest it all be lost. In the former heart of Roman civilization lies what remains of the Eternal City. After Odoacer formed the Kingdom of Italia, the city of Rome lost its significance as a political centre. Instead, the honour was bestowed to the well-fortified city of Ravenna. Even now, the Italian kingdom must contend with many foes, most notably the lands in Illyria under Julius Nespos, the Burgundians, the Ostrogoths, and the Vandals. Odoacer may have bent the knee to the Eastern Roman Empire as its client king, but some men are impossible to contain once a crown is placed upon their head. If Odoacer breaks his ties with Constantinople, a new Germanic king will march into Italia to assume his place in Ravenna by the orders of the emperor. As for the Eastern Roman Empire, Zeno reasserted his position on the throne after defeating and exiling the usurper Basilicus. Possessing experience in the arts of war and diplomacy through both his background in fighting against the Huns and his negotiations with the Vandals. Despite the prosperity of the Roman Empire in the East, Zeno now finds himself at odds with the imperial senate and countless scheming nobles, not to mention that the Sassanids continuously threaten the empire's Syrian and Anatolian frontiers. But all does not bode well for the warriors of Ahura Mazda, with northeastern frontiers threatened by the burgeoning Heptatite Empire. Having overthrown the Kedaratites a decade prior, the Heptatites now eye the territories ruled by the Alcon Huns and have sent an embassy to the Chinese court of the Northern Wei dynasty. With their secure position, the Heptatites are capable of intervening in the affairs of Iran. Just east to the Indus River, the power of the Gupta Empire wanes, and the Indian subcontinent is ever closer to a period of division and internal fighting. If such a situation were to rise in the near future, the Hunnic migrators to the north, most notably the Alcon and Heptatite Huns, could use it to their advantage to expand southward. But I am getting ahead of myself, for we must look back to when the Roman world inched closer to its decline. No, not when Theodosius passed and bequeathed the 2 halves of the empire to his weak-willed sons. For just 3 decades before the Roman civilization divided into East and West, an effort was made to bring the empire back to its roots long before the rise of Christianity or the first cracks of decay had begun to show. Julian, a nephew of Constantine the Great, and a philosopher-emperor in the mold of Marcus Aurelius, had undergone quite a journey before ascending into the purple. often through the death of the father in one of several purges under his cousin Constantius II, Julian was spared and was allowed to pursue an education in the empire's eastern provinces, developing an affection and love for the philosophies and values of the Hellenistic and Roman worlds. Eventually, Julian was appointed Heirs of the West and proved capable when he fought back the invading Franks, Alemanni, and Chamavi. After his victory, Constantius demanded Julian and his troops to reinforce the forces in Mesopotamia, but the troops promptly hailed Julian as their new emperor. The following civil war between the two cousins was short-lived though, first Constantius succumbed to illness before him and Julian could face each other with their armies on the battlefield. Julian became the new emperor in 361 AD, though he faced many obstacles due to his newfound affiliation with the empire's old pagan faith. Many began regarding him as an apostate for turning against the sign of the cross. And so Julian had begun his reign with an empire marred by religious conflict between the declining pagans and burgeoning Christians. Unfortunately, he died 2 years into his reign after leading a disastrous campaign against the Sassanid Empire. But one can only imagine what the Roman world could have been if Julian had had his way. And with that, I conclude with all the knowledge I can serve you, and I hope it did serve you well, Dominus.
Hello everyone, I'm Avi, and I'll be covering the new 476 Heirs of Rome bookmark, its accompanying update, and the 361 bookmark, which was revealed not long ago. Development on the Fallen Eagle began 2 years ago, and at that time, we saw drastic changes as the mod slowly matured and took form with an ever-expanding team. Although we focused more on the current 395 bookmark for much of the mod's lifetime, we also spent the time and effort developing 476 in the last year. We wanted to make sure whatever we release is done right and not half-baked. We tried our hardest to gather as much historical information about the regions as possible to deliver a historically accurate setting. This also contributed to the mod's shift towards more cultural and religious variety, which you'll see in both bookmarks. For example, Celtic rulers in Britannia now have their own faith that is separate from the one present in Gaul, while the areas bordering the Baltic Sea in the south have been reworked to show the Germanic presence prior to the Slavic migrations. Our research also gave us new ideas for flavor, which come in several forms through mechanics, events, decisions, and more. An example would be the new events concerning the deteriorating relationship between Odoacer and Zeno. Odoacer's Italia will start off as a client kingdom to the Eastern Roman Empire. However, that changes quickly as Odoacer proves to no longer be willing to bend the knee, forcing the empire to request Italia's neighbors in the Ostrogoths and Orugi to invade and depose his treacherous client. That was just one example of the flavor we added to the Heirs of Rome update, which also includes the Frankish invasion of Soissons, border disputes between the Visigoths and the Franks, the Brittonic migrations to Hispania and Brittany, etc. 395 also won't be left out of the update, as we have added more content such as Marcus Hu's Surpus rebellion against the Western Roman Empire and Radagaisus' invasion of Italia. The update also adds a missionary system, which we have already released in the form of a standalone mod back in August. The missionary system will let you spread your faith across the world, either leading to success or absolute failure. The missionary system is also tied to the Gregorian mission decision, which will call upon rulers from across Western Europe to help convert Britannia to Christianity. Speaking of Britannia, this update will also include all of the content that was previously planned for the Old North or Hen Ogledd update. This includes the Britannian struggle, as well as new flavor events for the Anglo-Saxons and Britons. The Anglo-Saxon culture will also now be able to be created in-game. The update won't leave out the addition of 3D models, as multiple models will be incorporated into the mod, including a Thracian helmet, a new variant of the late Roman helmet, and various Celtic warpaint meshes. This update is also finally reworking innovations to be more historical and flavorful. We are adding 2 new eras between Tribal, which is now called Iron Age, and Early Medieval. These 2 eras include numerous innovations such as imperial divinity and administrative efficiency, which will unlock the final imperial authority and military office authority laws, respectively. This update also comes with a new system for the Roman estate holders. Most castles in the empires will now be estates, a new holding type to simulate pre-feudal land ownership. Estate holders will be able to rise into the position as a military officer and then potentially a vicar, a position that is chosen by the direct liege. Military offices are now only a lifelong term, with you returning as an estate holder when you die. Estate holders can also send family members to the imperial court in the hopes of joining the Senate and help raise your house from there. In regard to governments, Germanic tribes and independent Roman counts will get a new Latin administrative government which will slowly decay over time and convert your estates to castles and later on convert you to the feudal system of government. This decay only starts once your culture unlocks the feudalism innovation. Speaking of the Senate, there are now several new decisions available for the Senate, such as dismantling the Senate altogether and apotheosizing a previous emperor if you are in an imperial cult, which grants you modifiers depending on your relation to the emperor. The update will also add a Senate for the Eastern Roman Empire, which will allow the Eastern Roman Emperor and its vassals to get access to the mechanics and flavor just like the Western Roman Senate. Lastly, we are proud to unveil the 361 bookmark, which we have been developing alongside 476 for the past few months. We plan to release it sometime in early 2023, as soon as it is fleshed out with historical authenticity and enough content worthy of a bookmark focused on the ascension of Julian the Apostate as emperor of a still unified Roman Empire. And of course, the planned bookmarks of 532, 632, and 768 will begin to see a greater emphasis on development as soon as 361 and 476 are thoroughly fleshed out. This update has been in the works for several months, and we are excited to say that it has now been released on the Steam Workshop, with 361 following later on. If you're interested in future development updates, want to ask a question, or apply to join the team, feel free to join our Discord server with the link on the ModCon website. Thank you all for the support, and we hope you have fun with the new 476 bookmark and all the new content accompanying it.